Sheldon, after such a strong first period, how would you explain the start of the second?
Disappointing, baffling, frankly. We didn't need to make those mistakes one time in the last series.
Cheer up, Sheldon.
Gotta tell you, great use of the word baffling.
Yes,
I'm
baffling.
gonna start using that a lot more.
Yeah,
I'm
the
baffled
one,
by this show.
Yeah. I am flabbergasted.
Sounds like
Another good word.
Flabbergasted. I can't even say it twice. It's so good. So that's Sheldon Keefe speaking about the Toronto Maple Leafs after losing 3-2 to the Florida Panthers in Game 2. I have so many questions. I really don't know where to start, but maybe, Sharms, I'll hit you with this. What do they have to do to actually put together a full 60-minute performance?
Trade William Nylander. I
all
know.
problems will end.
He is at the top of Sharman's list.
I'm going to
right
ask Puck Daddy about this later.
Yeah.
I really am. Because, I mean, he's such a good player, and he does everything right when he feels like playing that way. But he takes not just shifts off, he takes periods off.
Sometimes
Takes
games
off sometimes.
series
right?
off.
Well, he becomes a liability.
A
defensively.
liability. In that second period, he was pathetic. And then something happens in the final intermission, and the switch gets hit, and he's like all world again. In that third, if he's playing the way he did in the third period, the entire game, they win that game. He was going to score a goal at some point, right? He was incredible. I just don't understand the mentality of some of these players, with Nylander being the top guy. He could be an absolute megastar in this league, one of the top players in the league, but he just can't put it together for an entire game.
I heard a whole lot of ifs coming out of your mouth about William Nylander. I think that's what he is. He's just an if. What if, right? If he plays good, he's on. If he has a bad game, he's a liability, right? And I think with Nylander, I don't know what it is. He's not like Mitch Marner's slight of frame. He's a big body, right? He doesn't use it ever to his advantage. He goes through spells where he looks, like you said, like a guy who could lead the league in scoring, and then he goes through it where he shouldn't even be in the league, right? And I think with him, I think it just comes down to confidence. And I think I'd be interested to know in William Nylander's mind, did he see all that hate he was getting from Game 1?
Of course,
Did he see it? Did he read it? And is that now affecting him? And maybe, going on the road, getting away from the...
But this is not the first time.
No, exactly. And I think with William Nylander, it is what it is. I think you just chalk up. He's a guy where, you know what? He's going to have 3 games where he's going to be on fire, and he's going to have 4 games where he's disengaged.
I will say this. I think Keefe and Leaf fans would accept his lapses on defense if he was producing offensively. And that's just not the case. I was just looking at the stat, 0 for 22, you have Matthews, Nylander, and Marner. Obviously that's just not good enough.
Yeah, and I think when you think about it, when you look at the Leafs, right, Austin Matthews, we know whether his game is on or not on, he's still out there making an impact in some way, right? Mitch Marner, even though his offensive game not be going on, he will be a very important penalty killer. And that's the difference between them and William Nylander. When William Nylander is not engaged, what are you going to do? You don't want to put him out there. He's invisible, right? And I think that's the difference between a good to maybe fringe all-star player and all-star superstar
That's a great
players,
point. Yeah,
right?
it is all about consistency, isn't it? And that effort.
So the Leafs-Panthers Game 3 is on Sunday, and as I mentioned off the top of the show, Matthew Knies is out with a concussion. According to Sheldon Keefe, he'll miss Game 3 and 4, which means there's going to be some changes to the lineup. I think there's 2 options here. One, you bring back in Zach Aston-Reese, and you reshuffle the lines, or you go back to 11-7, and you bring in, I don't know, Gustafsson or possibly Justin Hall to help out Giordano.
Well, I think you bring back
Liljegren.
Hall anyway. I think Liljegren's been so poor.
You take Liljegren out and bring in
I think
Hall.
you have to. I mean, listen, lefties, righties, that's the issue, right? Giordano, you take him out if he's hurt or whatever reason, he's old, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's no one to replace him, really. I think you bring out Liljegren, you put Hall back in there, who had a tough series against Tampa. It's not great, is it? But let's be honest, every team in the league, this is the third pairings we're talking about here, right? The third pairing. I'm sure every team in the league has some issues about the third pairing, but because it's Toronto, it's magnified. Oh, we're in crisis because Justin Hall can't, make a check in his own end, or Liljegren can't handle the back check. We shouldn't be that concerned. It's just hockey, I suppose.
I'm very hesitant to put in Justin Hall in because of this Florida forecheck, right? If they get on him, right?
You saw Liljegren last night, though. It's
true. I know, like you said, it is like you're only as strong as your weakest link is, especially on the back end. I think it's more to do with how Florida plays. They see that Toronto is not the strongest on their back end, on their blue line, so they're getting after Toronto's blue line. They're making them double think about, is somebody coming to hit me? Is somebody coming?
Seems that way, doesn't it?
Right, and they're really... I think this is more indicative on how Florida's playing the Leafs rather than how the Leafs are playing I think the way that Paul Maurice has his team, again, I mentioned it already, the way they forecheck, the way they get after the Leafs defense, that to me, on top of how the way Sergei Bobrovsky is playing, has been the biggest factor in this series. The fact that they can cause these turnovers, can cause these giveaways from the Leafs, and take advantage of that. That's the difference in the series, on top of Sergei Bobrovsky looking like a $10 million goalie.
I think the key here, Albert, is Jarnkrok. Right, he has been invisible. If he gets his thumb out of his ass, right, for one game, right, it will make everything different, because you lose Knies in the top line or third line last night, but it was de facto checking line, but it was a really useful line, and get some offense somewhere from Jarnkrok. It makes a big difference, because I don't know where he's gone, whether he's hurt, I don't know. Regular season, pretty good player, 20-goal scorer, experienced in the playoffs, but you think Nylander's floating out there. Nothing compared to Jarnkrok right now. Yeah. So if he finds his game, it does make the line combination a little bit better, because Knies wasn't there all year, and they were still a pretty good team.
Yeah, he only played 8 minutes and 36 seconds, and it looked like he wasn't on the ice for a minute of that. My main concern, you can do whatever you want with the defense. You look at Liljegren, he played how many minutes last night? 12 minutes. Giordano played 15 minutes. They're still logging decent minutes, but it's up to, Brody and McCabe and Shen and Riley to carry most of those defensive minutes. But missing Knies, I think, is actually so huge. And I don't know how to look at this, because you have this Toronto Maple Leaf team who has been a cup favorite since the beginning of the season. Heading into round 2, they were the favorites according to the books. And now you're missing Matthew Knies, who's just 20 years old, fresh out of college, 4 regular season games, but's been on the ice for the most important goals in this Leafs playoff run so far. I really think the absence of Matthew Knies is bigger than people think. And I know you have Matthews, I know you have Marner, and I have Nylander, Tavares, but those guys aren't producing enough to the point where a 20-year-old needs to be on the ice for that to happen.
And that's a problem. That's a very big problem.
So does that mean, what does that mean, though?
It means the Leafs' best players.
Does that mean the Leafs aren't good enough to make a true cup run?
No, that's not. It means their best players do not show up when it matters the most. If you're relying on a 20-year-old with 4 regular season games, right, to be a guy to push the envelope like that, that should be like an added cherry on the top, right?
I think it is. I don't think they're saying to him, "Oh, thank God, Matthew Knies is here. We're going to just plummet without him." But he's earned that respect.
No, yeah, exactly. And I think, but to go address your point solely, if that's the case, and they think that he's a guy that really needs to be a catalyst and a guy with, that's a more indication on the big guys not stepping up and playing their game, right? Case in point, William Nylander, right? If William Nylander can't play it up to his potential, up to his level on a consistent basis, and the fact that you're relying on a 20, that sounds more indicative of the fact that you don't have the right players in-house to make a successful cup run. The talent's there, but the mentality's not there then from these players to perform when it matters the most. And if Matthew Knies is that guy, then he'll get there eventually, but you can't rely on him.
It's unfair.
Right now.
But secondary scoring's been an issue all year for this team, right? And if it's not the top boys doing it, then who's going to score for this team? Nola Chari's had a couple of big goals in the Tampa series, right? But you can't rely on
that's not
Nola
why he's
Chari.
here.
No,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
so I know what you're saying, but I think most teams, we've been fortunate to see Knies evolve like they have. Most teams would give him the minutes they've given him, given how he's earned those minutes. But, listen, it's Bobrovsky. It's really that simple. It's not like they haven't got chances.
I think so, Sharms. I think it's more.
You think it's more than that? I don't know about that.
The first 2 minutes of the second period, you give up 2 goals that easily?
Yeah, right? Sure. Terrible mistakes.
If I'm one of these stars on this team, one of the core 4, and I'm looking myself in the mirror and I'm like, a 20-year-old is playing better than me in this series, I should be embarrassed. I'm making $11 million. This kid's making $700,000, and he's outperforming
who are you talking
us.
About
I'm talking about all of them. This is Matthews, Marner, Nylander.
I think Matthews is standing up, don't you think?
He's playing better, but not good enough. He was one of the reasons why they coughed up a goal, and he's one of the reasons why they're not winning this game, because they're not putting the puck in the back of the net.
It wasn't Marner that tried to give them that ridiculous pass.
Right, it was. And then the soft flip by Matthews didn't help. But at the same time, you can call the Leafs being goalied, but Matthews is a 60-goal guy. He gets paid to put the puck in the back of the net, and he's not doing that.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point.
Got to be better.
It's mentality. It comes down to mentality, and I think the Leafs just don't have, again, if they get swept in this series, I don't think that's going to happen.
2 games in.
And I will say,
they're down 0-2. They're halfway there.
I know, but let's
in
not
boxing,
talk about sweeps just yet.
4 knockdowns, the fight's over. They're already halfway there, right? So,
I'm not completely worried. They're perfect on the road. I think the couple of days.
Where are you? DEFCON 1 being like nuclear explosion. Yeah. Where are you right now? I'm at DEFCON 3.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what that is, but 3, that's not crazy.
I'm not that concerned.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit worried. It's creeping in.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 more beer than I should have.
Yeah. I'm maybe like a beer on the beach. I'm not too bad. I'm pretty casual. Okay, we got to wrap up here. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk some baseball with Jordan Horobin.